Hi, and welcome to Career Ed Live. Career Ed Live is a new once monthly outreach from the Office of Career Education. My name is Denny Daugherty, and I am joined with Shaunte Polk today. Shaunte, would you care to tell us just a little bit more about yourself?
Hi, as Mr. Denny said, my name is Shaunte Polk, and I am the director for the Office of Intercultural and International Students here at Marshall University.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I just want to thank you for joining me today, Shaunte. Like we were just kind of before I hit record here, Shaunte and I were just talking back and forth. And I know with Black History Month, among other things, you've got a very busy month coming up ahead of you. So I just want to thank you for your time. It's very, very much appreciated. And I think our discussion today is going to be very beneficial for the students. So just know that I just appreciate you so much for helping me out with this project. So what we're doing, this is going to be our final session. The last three sessions that we've done have been about the NACE career competencies. There are 8 of them. And today is session 4 of 4 on the NACE competencies. We're going to be talking about global and intercultural fluency, as well as communication. So we have a couple questions here we just want to jump into talking about global and intercultural fluency. So Shaunte, global and intercultural fluency is one of the NACE 8 competencies like we had talked about. So can you tell us a bit about why that is important for today's world, both professionally and personally? So why might a student care about that?
So, first, overall, the world is diverse, it's multicultural. There is nowhere in this world you're going to go and meet someone exactly like you. Nowhere. You usually hear me speak during welcome and orientation, and I joke that even if you had a twin, they would not be like you at all. They're just completely different. So, thinking about that, there is nowhere that you're going to go professionally or in your personal life where you're going to meet somebody exactly like you. So you're going to have to navigate, engage with people who are different with you every single time you step outside your door. You're going to have conversations with them. You're going to have to work with them. Something to some degree, you're going to have to interact with someone who is different from you. So that's why it's important overall, because we live in a diverse society. So you're going to have to interact with these people. It is a necessity that you know how to do that. So when you talk about professionally, employers know that they want people who can who can talk with diverse populations, engage with diverse populations. They know the benefits. People who can do that, they know what it does for their company. They know what it does for teams. They know what it does for productivity, ideas, every single thing. So employers want people who can interact with diverse populations. They know the benefits. So you being able to again navigate conversations and talk to people, whether it's someone you service or your your fellow employees, they know how that is going to benefit them and their company. So employers look for that. It makes you well-rounded, not only in your professional life, but in your personal life. Again, going back to you being able to navigate conversation with people, connecting with people who are different than you, it makes you a more well-rounded person. It gives you, as being you were talking about, that edge.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
gives you that edge
Mhm.
because you may have this degree and you may be sharp and everything else, but if you have this piece to you, it definitely gives you an edge that employers want. But even in your personal life, it gives you an edge. So when you're going into new spaces or visiting new places, you
Mhm.
know how that culture interacts or what to do or
Yeah.
how to say things. So again, it makes you well-rounded and it gives you that edge we were talking about. And I kind of hit on what I was saying about going into new places and new environments. That's professionally and personally. So say you're going on a business trip, if you have again this piece to you, you can go into new environments that are totally different. Say you have to go to China and you know the language, you know the customs and the culture and all that good stuff. Again, you will be able to integrate into that without fear and do well. And again, personal life, just going back, being able to integrate into situations. So meeting your partner for the first time and they may take you, so it goes so smoothly across everything that makes you you. So having that piece again, it goes on the well-roundedness. It plays out both in your professional and personal life. And lastly, it will show people when you do this and you can effectively, when you have this piece and you know how to navigate it, you make connections and build rapport with people so much easier. There's not the struggle of trying to figure out why people act this way, or I don't want to go over and talk to them because they seem certain way. So again, you build rapport so much quicker when you have this piece to you. So again, that goes professionally and personally. So like I said, it's important for a number of reasons, as I just stated, but overall, because we are living in a society where it's key and necessary, it's just going to benefit you if you have it.
Absolutely. I think very, very well stated. And something that occurred to me while you were speaking is that I think a lot of times when I was younger, I had a misconception. Like I think about diversity and globalism and things like that. Like more if I travel, if I go abroad, but a lot of times it'll come to us. Mm-hmm. And I know even working on a university campus, we have, because sometimes we even think of like international students and things like that. But diversity, it can even mean different parts of the state. I mean, yes. People from this area. I grew up in the Eastern Panhandle. It's vastly different than the Huntington area. I mean, we have students from other states. So when we talk about diversity, it's not always the most extreme thing we can imagine either. Sometimes it's people from a different geographic area and just knowing how to interact. I think knowing how to interact with various types of people. But I think one of the most important things is just, I always think focusing on similarities as well and not jumping to conclusions, just being open and just, realizing there are differences. But, as human beings, I think there's a lot more of a common thread that draws us together as well.
That is absolutely correct. And I say that too during Week of Welcome Orientation. Everyone is diverse. Everyone has their own unique diversity. Not one set of people, not one group of people have it. You have a diversity in you that nobody else has. It's everything and everybody. So again, you hit on a key point. It is all, you're from the Eastern Panhandle. I'm from the lower part of the state. I'm from Beckley. So vastly different. And so when people start to know that they have diversity within themselves and not be scared, again, we'll talk about that later about the fear, they will know that you have a diversity too that people need to know about and how to talk to you, how to interact with you. So
absolutely.
Again, people from West Virginia have a whole set of different culture, customs that they do vastly different from someone from New York. So again, it's everything that makes you you, and I always want to hit on that a lot. So you made a great point. So yes, I do say that too.
Awesome. I was thinking too when you said that about West Virginia culture, and I don't know what this says about me, but do you want to guess what popped into my mind? I'll give you 3 guesses. You want to guess what popped into my mind?
Were you talking about pepperoni rolls?
Yes, you got it. First try, you got it. That's incredible. So I always knew we were on the same wavelength, but yeah, you nailed that. You got it. And one time I remember I was traveling through the state and it occurred to me, I was like, every gas station has, that rack of pepperoni rolls right by the register. And I went to one that didn't. And I'm like, am I even in West Virginia anymore? It's like, where is the rack of pepperoni rolls? It's like, they are not living up to what they need to do as a gas station in the state. But anyway, I forget where that was.
That's right. I love it, but you're absolutely right. It's just our thing.
Yeah, definitely. So I know when you introduced yourself, you talked to us, you told us a little bit about what you did here at Marshall University. Do you want to go into any more detail on that? Do you have anything else to add, maybe some specific programming and things like that?
So like I stated before, my name is Shaunte Polk, and I am the director for the Office of Intercultural International Students here at Marshall University. And again, going back to Week of Welcome Orientation, if you hear me speak, I always say that I'm the person who loves to celebrate diversity every single day. And I mean that, and I love what I do because I do truly celebrate diversity every single day. How do I do that? Through my programming, events, training, support groups. I do that every single day in everything that I do. And as me and Mr. Denny was mentioning, everybody has a unique diversity. I talk to those students. I put those students, faculty, staff in front of everyone on campus or in the community and have people learn from that. Is what I love to do, is what I like to do. And it's so simple. It's so easy because literally working with me, talking to me, doing my programs, you can travel the world for free. You can meet people from all over the globe just by coming to a program that we host. So I love what I do, and that's what I do every day, and I absolutely adore it. I absolutely enjoy it because, again, you can travel the world for free with me by just visiting my office, talking to the students, faculty, and staff that I've met from, again, from here as close as West Virginia to as far as Africa. And it's just what I do, and I absolutely adore it.
Wonderful. And I, again, too, I know I've sat through some of your trainings. I participated in your trainings, and they are wonderful. I feel like I've always learned a lot. So that's one reason you jumped out at me today when I was thinking of like people to invite to this. I mean, you were on some of them. I struggled a little bit. I had to think, but when it came time to think about who to invite to today's discussion, it was a no-brainer.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was the most obvious answer I came to. So yeah. So what, and again, I think you touched on this question a little bit previously, but this might be a chance to expound on it a little bit. What advice do you have for students who perhaps don't prioritize thinking about global or intercultural fluencies? What would you say to that student?
You're going to miss out. You're going to miss out on a lot. Like, if you don't think that this is a priority, you will see in the long run how wrong you were, because you're going to miss out on so much, whether that be job opportunities, friendship opportunities, everything that you could possibly, you're going to miss out. Because again, we mentioned, yes, you can have a degree, be super, super sharp, but you have this person who has that edge, who can interact with diverse populations, who can talk and bring this and work with these different kinds of groups. And they're going to bring that edge that you don't have. And wow, look, you done missed out on maybe a promotion or a business opportunity you could have had. Or if you want to take it personal, you can say, oh, I don't interact with those people because I don't know them. I'm scared. I'm fearful. And that could have been your best friend. You never know. And so my whole thing is, don't let the fear consume you and let you miss out on great opportunities. So again, if you don't think it's a priority, think again, because again, you're navigating a multicultural society, a world, and it's a necessity. So if you don't want to prioritize, if you don't want to do it for your personal life, just think about your business, your professional life. Because again, you might miss out on that big opportunity you could have had just because someone else has that edge over you.
Yeah. Very, very well put. Very well put. So next question here is a different, we'll say hypothetically a different student, but this is a student who's a little bit more thinking ahead and thinking about the things you said. So if a student wants to develop these skills further, they come to you and say, Shaunte, I want to develop these skills further. What opportunities exist on campus? What would you tell that student how to go about developing their skills on campus?
So I would always tell them to come visit our offices. Any of the offices of intercultural or international affairs, we have goodness gracious, can't even count, 4 offices. But even aside from ours, there's still like the Women's and Gender Center too. So I mean, any of the cultural, multicultural, diverse offices on campus, please just go visit them. Just step inside, speak with somebody. More than likely, there's going to be folks there who's going to engage with you. So visit any of the offices. So my office, the Office of Intercultural Affairs, the main office is in Old Main, 107. The Center for African American Students is in the Memorial Student Center, 1W25, and usually where my main office is located. The LGBTQ+ office is also located in the Student Center on the lower level. We do not say the basement, the lower level, BW14. And then our International Students office is located in lovely East Hall, formerly known as the N2 building. So you can come visit any of those offices, and we will talk with you. You'll meet people who are different from you. You'll learn about the programs that we have going on. And everybody who works in those offices are open and welcome and fun and sweet. So you'll always have a great time when you come and visit our office. So visiting our office is always a good start, because again, we always say we'll treat you like family, and all of our offices are home away from home. And we truly mean that. Joining any of the diverse and cultural organizations, we have a ton. HerdLink, I'm going to go ahead and plug in Andy Hermansdorfer. Dr. Andy Hermansdorfer.
That's right, I heard that.
Yes, Dr. Andy Hermansdorfer, who has been awesome in making Hurt League a great success and helping those student organizations getting on there and making sure they're ran beautifully. So visit Hurt Link because they have all of the, and I think it's even a little tab, and I think it says like multicultural, cultural, diverse, and it links all of those diverse and cultural organizations. Get involved, join some of them, one of them. Most of them are within our offices in the Office of Intercultural and International Affairs. So again, joining one of those is always fun because they're going to do the fun stuff. That's why I say my student groups, they do the fun stuff. I have to do this the fun / educational stuff, but they're going to always do the fun stuff. So join those. If it wasn't COVID time, always learning through food is fun, music. So they do the fun stuff. So joining the organization. If it was not COVID times, and me and you talked about it, Mr. Denny, study abroad. Study abroad is always a good one. Again, do it while you're in college because there are things that are in place that will help you pay for that. Do that. Do not let the fear hold you back. Most of the students, if not all the students I've spoke to who studied abroad before COVID, enjoyed it, loved it, and ended up going back way after their college careers. So again, study abroad. It is excellent. It is the best way to fully immerse yourself in a culture. So please do that. Another one that is for free and is on your own, it's just practicing openness. Practice being more empathetic, thinking about how to be accepted of different viewpoints. That's something that you can do on your own. Because if you're like, Shaunte, I'm not fully ready, to come to your office just yet, and I'm still a little scared to join, an organization because I don't know. Just practice like being more open and empathetic to people who are different from you. You can, again, YouTube is always a great source. Watch videos because they'll show you how to. But again, it's something that you can do on your own. And lastly, taking one of the multicultural and intercultural classes here. I think Marshall only requires you to take 3 hours, right? So
that sounds right.
Yeah, 3 hours. So you have this 3 hours, which most of them are 3-hour classes, right? Is it 3 hours? So you can
that's
take.
Very common.
Okay, so yeah, so they have this huge list. They have this huge list of classes that you can take. Take one of them. If you can take more, do it because they added some really, really good ones on there. That my favorite one, and Dr. Trowbridge, we worked with him doing Black History Month. He has an excellent one that even immerses you in the community. So again, another plug for one of my good people, my good friends, Dr. David Trowbridge. He has one of the multicultural and intercultural classes. He does Black history, and he's actually done a program with me. But again, he has a great one. So go on that list and take a class. These are easy and free ways to develop these skills. So again, don't let the fear consume you. Just join it. And you can always come talk to me. It's not you can always come talk to me and I will introduce you to the folks within our offices and to these programs slowly. And I've done that a lot of times. So
oh, wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. I will just tell you on the matter of classes, one of my favorite classes I took as an undergrad, I'm a communication major. I took intercultural communication, and that was it's a very interesting class. I think we talked about the dimensions of culture and things like that. It was just very eye-opening, just very interesting. It's just never dull. Just gives you things to think about you maybe hadn't thought about before. Mm-hmm. So one day I'd love to be able to teach that intercultural. I really like taking it. It was a lot of years ago when I took it. But,
that's okay. You should teach it, Mr. Denny.
I'm working. I'd love to. I'm gonna have to go beg the communication department here and be like, "Hey guys, I want to teach intercultural." I presume we have that as a class.
If not, I've seen a little thing on there where I think you can create one. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Hey, there we go. Yeah, or better yet, you and I need to co-teach. What do you think about that?
Hey, I'm into that.
Let's just see if we can do that. I think it'd be a hoot.
I would be into that. You just tell me and I'm there.
most fun class on campus.
Oh yeah, we'd have good reviews. We'd have
the best, I think. So do you have any other words of advice for us today?
I think I've mentioned it a lot, and I'll just go back to it again. Do not let the fear of learning or immersing yourself in a different culture scare you, because if you do, you're going to miss out on so much. Again, we talk about the professional aspect of it, being having this piece to you professionally and in your personal life. And I think that what has people missing it a lot of the times is because of the fear. It's knowing that you're going to step into something that is unknown and learn about something that's unknown, and it's not going to be 100% when you're speaking it or talking or engaging with somebody. And it gets people very scared because they don't want to do that. They don't want to even put themselves through it. But I say, don't let that fear consume you. Go for it. Slowly introduce yourself to other cultures, other spaces, other people, environments. And in the end, you're going to say, Shaunte, you were absolutely right, because I made a lifelong friend. I've traveled here. I got this. Because it's going to be so enriching to your life. So again, don't let that fear consume you. Please, please, please strive to be diverse and inclusive in everything that you do, because again, it's only going to benefit you in the long run.
Wonderful. Well said. I don't know if I don't know. I don't know if I've ever even heard it put that well. Just very, very well put. So also, I hope I want to thank you for joining us today. Do you have any questions for Shaunte?
Hi. No, I don't have one specifically, but okay. So you said that your office is in Old Main, right?
I have four, but where my office, my physical one, is in the student center. It's on the floor. It's MSC 1W25. So when you come off the side where the fountain is, I'm directly to the right. You can't miss me.
All right. Thank you.
Come and visit me anytime.
I need to, because I don't know if you can tell my background. I'm back in my old stomping grounds today. I'm right upstairs above the bookstore. So
yeah. I was wondering why it was green. Neighbor. You're back in the neighborhood. Welcome back.
That's right. Yeah, because we're with our office, we're watching COVID and how not this over there, just how many people were in the office and the one across the street. So 1 or 2 days a week I'm over here just to help us spread out a little bit. So yeah, I'm actually not very far away from me right now. Because yeah, some people see this like, is it like the weatherman? Is like where they put the map?
I thought it was a green screen.
The green screen. I'm like, no, they just happen to paint the wall that color. So that's my. It's funny because all the time I was in here, I never looked at it. It was behind me, but now when I do Teams meetings, I'm like, daggone, that's kind of right.
Yeah, it is.
So. All righty, so we're going to transition into the second portion of Career Ed Live today. I'm going to be talking about communication skills because, as we had stated, one of the other NACE competencies, actually the last one left for us to cover, is going to be communication skills. So I am going to be pulling up a PowerPoint and hopefully doing that correctly here. So let's see. So someone just holler out at me. Can you see my PowerPoint okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I thought so. I had the proper little red ring around the screen. I just wanted to make sure before I went any further. So like I said, I'm going to be talking about communication skills, which are, again, one of the NACE competencies. Communication skills is pretty near and dear to my heart because this is an area, not only am I really interested in it as far as its impact in the workplace, but I also have 2 degrees in communication skills, with one of those degrees being from Marshall. Marshall's where I did grad school. So communication skills at work. Why does it matter? Communication is a NACE competency. And again, for anyone who's maybe not seen a previous video, NACE stands for National Association of Colleges and Employers. And what they do is they call them the 8 competencies. And these are the 8 areas that employers most want to see in recent hires, particularly recent graduates who they hire. And I don't have a slide on here for this today, but what we've done when presenting this to students previously is talk about how oftentimes an employer will indicate that students may not be as proficient in those areas as they would have liked. So that's one of the things we try to do, is talk to students to make sure that, kind of like Shaunte and I were discussing before we started today, having that degree is very important to having work experience, internships, and all of that. But you also want to show an employer that you're competent in these 8 areas, including communication skills. So in addition to NACE, communication skills are highly sought after in other surveys. There was one I just found this morning, LinkedIn. It's funny, 2016 feels like yesterday, but I guess it's getting, I guess it's actually 5 years ago now. But in a LinkedIn survey, it was actually the most sought after skill for employers, communication skills. If you have poor communication skills, it can cost the company time. Okay, time and money, which kind of go hand in hand. And a quick example of that: one time when I worked in a restaurant, there were a few times where I probably had my mind on something else and wasn't listening. And I know I had made food incorrectly, and it's not like that's $1 million screw up or anything like that, but especially working for a small family business, I mean, it costs them a little bit of money, it costs a little bit of time, and it's just something that didn't have to happen. And better communication, including listening skills, would have definitely helped in that respect. Productivity, which again is kind of rooted in those other two. Communication skills, poor communication skills can cost company relationships. It can damage relationships of people who work in the organization, and also relationships with people outside of the organization. I was reading Google reviews. I won't say where. I don't even want to say the type of food because I don't want to narrow it down. But there was a restaurant in Huntington. I was looking to get some food over the weekend, and there was a restaurant that popped up in my Google Maps, and there were several reviews that said the food is good, but the individual who works there is pretty rude. I don't know if I'm going back. And again, I'm not going to say the restaurant. I don't even want to indicate the type. I don't want to narrow it down or anything like that. So poor communication skills can damage those relationships. And of course, if someone gets upset that restaurant doesn't go back, I mean, that can go back to the concept of costing them money. So this is all kind of interwoven when you look at it. Poor communication skills can cost a company good employees. Perhaps if internal communication is not what it ought to be, if employees aren't getting the information that they need, it can be frustrating, and they might decide to seek employment elsewhere in extreme circumstances. And it can also cost a company professional image. Perhaps if something embarrassing goes on social media, or and maybe there's a big flub of some sort and someone goes public with it, it can be it can be pretty damaging to a company's reputation as well. So I want to talk about just a few types of communication skills that are going to be important in the workplace. Now, business communication is it's a class I've actually taught before in Point Pleasant. Textbooks have been written on it, so there's no way. And because, like I said, we try to keep Career Ed Live to about an hour, which gives me maybe 15 or 20 minutes. There's no way I could possibly encompass everything that I need to talk about. So I'm just going to try to hit on some high points as we do this. Oral communication skills are still a major part of communication in the workplace today. Despite digital advances, believe it or not, we still rely very heavily on the spoken word. Even in outreach, like what we're doing right now today, something like this, I mean, I'm speaking to you, so the spoken word, oral communication skills are still quite important. What this can mean for us is we have to watch things like sarcasm, and I'm very sarcastic myself at work. I was waiting for a lightning bolt to hit me when I said that. Sarcasm, smart remarks, or worse. Because sometimes we think of sarcasm, they can kind of be statements that are intended to be funny but can be misconstrued. But sometimes people will say outright hateful and mean things, so of course they shouldn't be said either. So just some things like that just don't have a place in the workplace at all, and there's not really another way to spin it. We also want to pay attention to word choice because the choice of words can have large consequences. You want to have some precision in the way you speak. For instance, don't refer to everything as that thingamabob, and I don't even know if I spelled that right. I don't think it's a word. I'm pretty sure it underlined that in red pretty badly when I typed out the slide. But it's just an example, but you want to use some precision in the way that you communicate. particularly in the workplace. Overall, watch what you say. Things like insults, gossip, and things like that typically are not appreciated. They can hurt relationships. They can divide people. Nothing good ever really comes from them. You want to watch enunciation. You want to watch the pace with which you speak. You want to watch your overall tone, because those are things that can cause you to look unprofessional as well. And a lot of times I tell students, you're not hanging out with your friends. There's a way you might communicate when you're with a group of friends, but that's not the way you should communicate with a boss. It's not the way you should communicate with customers or clients or coworkers, and particularly in a professional job. I would argue even if you take a job at Speedway or Burger King or something like that, there's still a level of professionalism you want to have in that, because that's going to help pave the way for you to get full-time work, to grow in your career. If you do the small things well, if you do even a part-time job well, it should pave the way for employment that's in your sought-after area. But particularly in a professional workplace, there's just ways to conduct yourself, and there's ways to not conduct yourself. You also want to be careful with your volume too. And this is something that kind of popped into my mind at the last minute, but I love the Dilbert comic strip, if anyone's ever watched. It was actually, excuse me, it was actually a cartoon for a while. I believe you can go online to dilbert.com. You can read back about you can read back about 30 years worth of strips, Dilbert comic strips. There's a character called Loud Howard, and in the cartoon he would shout, and people would actually fall off their chairs and things like that. That was kind of his joke, is that he talked too loud. And if you don't know anything about Dilbert, it's kind of a parody of workplace, cubicle, office life, and it's one of those parodies that's a little bit true for comfort sometimes. But that was one of the characters in there. His name was Loud Howard. But anyway, oral communication skills continued. They're important in many different settings, including one-on-one, if you're maybe working with your supervisor, maybe a coworker, a customer, a client, having a one-on-one meeting, small group meetings, public speaking and presentations. And I teach public speaking here at Marshall, and this is something I try to tell students, is that don't just assume because you're not going to be a teacher or a politician or a lawyer or something like that you're not going to have to speak in front of groups in your career. The opposite is true. You might be shocked at how many opportunities there are for you to have to speak in front of a group. And also external communications, interviews, things like that. You never know when you might have to appear on the WSAZ or whoever comes over. You might have to appear on the news and things like that. So regardless of your field, being a competent oral communicator is something that will take you further. Now, next, I want to talk about nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication encompasses many, many different things, everything from our tone of voice, eye contact, facial expressions, hand gestures, body movement, your overall appearance, the way you use physical items. All of these are part of nonverbal communication, because when we talk about communication, we basically have verbal and nonverbal. Verbal is any communication that uses words. If I write you a letter, that's actually verbal communication because it uses words. But if I write a letter to apply for a job and it's handwritten and looks like I shoved it in my back pocket for a week, and those are actually pieces of nonverbal communication. And none of them are professional in nature. And all of those things I just described would cause the letter to look very unprofessional. So everything from your tone of voice, I always tell students, I can say, good job, or good job, same couple words. Tone of voice can change it a lot. Of course, eye contact, too much or too little is not good. Facial expressions, hand gestures in particular are one thing we have to be careful of. Fun fact, things like thumbs up, things like the peace sign, things like okay. These are all things that, depending upon your culture, your setting, could be construed as offensive. So particularly in other parts of the world. So even things as innocuous, as harmless seeming as the hand gestures I just illustrated to you, you want to be careful with. And of course, there are others as well. Overall body movement, everything from do you move back and forth? Do you rock? Do you get nervous? If you're public speaking, are you up there doing this, gripping onto the podium? Just how do you use your body just during communication? Even things like, do you stand too close to people, which hopefully the last year or so has not been a problem, but even prior to that, it's something you want to consider. Your overall appearance, and do you look clean? Do you look like you're wearing clean clothing? Do you look like you've bathed this week? I mean, have you combed your hair and things like that? The way you use physical items, so things like is your office clean? That can communicate a lot about you. There are a number of offices I go to here on campus, and it's interesting, especially if I get to know someone prior to a visit to their office. Sometimes it's exactly what I expected. Sometimes it's nothing at all like what I expected. So these are all important considerations because nonverbal communication, this is a little bit more ingrained in us. It can be, research even tells us nonverbals are harder to fake. So we have to think about the messages that we send through nonverbal communication. Now, written communication can take many forms, including emails, business letters, other important business documents. I'll give you an example of that. I worked at a small business college before I came to Marshall, and one document I worked on was our annual security report. I think either safety report or security, I think it's annual security report. And it's something that if you accept federal financial aid dollars, it's something you have to publish every year. It's not it was in Ohio, it wasn't an Ohio law, it was a federal law, and that was a document that I had worked on. And then we had things like inter-office memos, and in that job I relied a lot on those as well. Even things like text messages, you want to be careful because I think once upon a time texting was something that we only used for friends and family. But I have people in business and industry text me periodically. The other year when I was working on purchasing a home in Huntington, I texted my realtor. I think the texting is something that, and I'd say probably social media even, and things like that, things that might have at one point either been a toy or been something strictly for social uses, they're finding their way into professional communication. So we do want to think about how we communicate with them. I think depending upon the context, I think that communicating professionally can be done with a text message, but there are a lot of ways to be pretty unprofessional in how I send a text message as well. But the same is true of a letter, the same is true of an email, and things like that. So you want to think about the accuracy of the information. You want to think about your grammar, your mechanics. You want to think about the overall tone, because all of this is very important. You want to think about your audience. Why are you writing? What's the formality of the piece that you're working on at that point in time? So if it's a business letter, is it something that needs a congratulatory tone? Are you sending good news? I mean, are you terminating a business relationship? I mean, these are all things to factor in. And even within business writing, we have things like known as a good news strategy, a bad news strategy, and matters like that. And that's you can go kind of deep into that. And if anyone wants to discuss that more, I'll be happy to talk about it. It can you can get a little bit deep on that. So what do communication skills communicate? Being a strong communicator at work, it can indicate that you take your career and your personal success seriously. It can indicate that you have a strong work ethic, that you like to see tasks completed correctly and on time and on budget. It can indicate that you care about the company, its image, clients, and coworkers. It can communicate that you can be trusted with company resources, including sensitive information. And I've dealt with this a little bit at Marshall. I think I dealt with it a little bit more prior to me getting here. But sometimes a company just has to entrust you with information that either, if shared, it could either be damaging to them, it could be advantageous to a competitor, or it could just put them in legal trouble if it were spilled. So for instance, if I went around telling sensitive student information, not only could I get in a lot of trouble myself, it could put the university in a bad position. So just working at a university, there is student information, there is privileged information that you work with. So just having an understanding of that, showing that you're a person who can be trusted with such information is very important. Are you overall competent as an individual? Your communication skills play into this a lot. It's a strong indicator. It's not 100% accurate. People can fake it. I've met people who I would trust with anything I own that aren't necessarily great communicators. And I've also known very strong communicators who would probably rip me off the first opportunity they got. I mean, I wouldn't want to leave my wallet laying on my desk, but the person can communicate like no one's business. So it can be an indicator. It's not 100% accurate. It can also show that we are concerned about people as individuals, even beyond the scope of the work. And I know, just to give you an example of this, working with students, and I do care about students beyond the scope of my work, but I think it's important to show this through the way I communicate with them. I don't want them, when they come in to meet with me, to feel like they're in line at the DMV or something like that. I think it's important to get to know them on a personal note and do things like that. And beyond just showing them that I care, it also helps to build rapport, which further helps me to better do my job. Because if sometimes I get into sensitive issues with students if we're talking about switching a major or a career or something like that, and things they may not just want to tell any stranger off the street. So sometimes I have to prove that I'm an individual who can be trusted a little bit and someone who cares about them and has their best interest at heart. So how can I improve on my communication skills? The best piece of advice I have, honestly, is just get out there and do it. Hold a job, participate in an organization. Volunteering is wonderful. One of the best ways to fine-tune these skills is simply to do it. I mean, you can take classes, you can read communication textbooks, you can talk communication theories all day long, but until you put it into practice, your ability to work on these skills, it's going to be, you can do it. I think it's going to be limited. So just get out there, just work on those skills, and furthermore, get around people who are excellent communicators. And have a business mentor or something like that, because that's going to help you a lot as well. But that being said, do consider the value of taking a communication class, and particularly one either focused in business or, like we talked about a little bit ago, intercultural communication or something like that, because that still has a lot of value in the workplace. Ask for feedback. I don't think there's any harm in asking for feedback on communication. You could talk to friends and family, but if it's maybe, or coworkers, classmates, people that are in a similar organization as you. My one word of caution is it can be helpful, but don't ask if you don't want to know. For instance, I'll use Shaunte as an example. If I wanted to ask her, hey, what do you think of my communication skills? And she says, you do blank, blank, and blank well, but here, this might be something to improve upon. What do you mean I have something to work on? You mean I'm not, how dare you say I'm not? Sometimes I think we ask for feedback, but what we're really doing is looking for compliments and looking for someone to stroke us. Okay, so I think it's a good strategy, but don't ask if you don't want, if you're not really ready to accept the feedback and make the changes. Maybe rethink this one. I think it has the potential to work out very well. It has the potential to not go so well either. So make sure you're ready to accept that feedback. So does any person just strike you as a really good communicator? If I say a good communicator, if you close your eyes, does anyone pop into your mind? It might, maybe not, but if so, what behaviors of theirs can you emulate? What do they do well? These can be things to think about. And you can honestly try to evaluate your skills as well. There are things I know I'm good at, things I know I'm not all that good at. One of the problems is that it's hard to try to accurately evaluate yourself. It can be a good step, but I found most people were either too lenient or too hard on themselves. It's somewhat rare to find an individual who I think has a very honest assessment of where their skills lie. I think it can be done. I think it's not done all that often. So just to talk a little bit about the Office of Career Education, some things that we can also help you with include major and career exploration. So if you want to talk about, okay, I'm interested in being a biology major, what are my career options? And we can help you with that. If you know for a fact that you want to be, I'll use the example, an airline pilot, because I've been talking to a student about that a little bit. How I know for a fact there's nothing else on this planet I'd rather do than fly an airplane. How do I do it? We can help you with that. We can help you by looking at resumes and other documents, including personal statements for grad school, cover letters, CVs, if you maintain one of those, etc. We can help you do a mock interview, which is basically just a practice job interview. We have a CEE, it's called Career Exploration Experience. It's a job shadowing program. I always compare a job shadow to trying on a pair of shoes. You want to make sure it fits. Sometimes something can look good, but once you try it out for yourself, it's like, no, this just isn't for me. CEE, job shadowing, allows you to do that. We can give you individualized career coaching, and this is something we can do for current students as well as alumni, because sometimes alumni come back and say, hey, I've worked in this field for X number of years. I'm just ready for a change. Here's my experience. Here's kind of what I'm thinking about doing. Can you help me? What else do I need to do? and we can help them with that a little bit. We have career expos every semester. These were virtual in the fall. The jury is still out on if they're going to be in person this time around. We're hoping they can be. If not, they'll be virtual, but regardless, we will be doing them this semester. And we do offer an etiquette dinner. We have an etiquette consultant come in for that and talk to us. She's fantastic. So these are just some of the resources that we can offer. And really quickly, where are we located? The Career Education House. We call it the house because, well, it's a house. It looks like a house. It's at 5th Avenue and 17th Street. It's next to Harless Dining Hall. And one note I will make is that all student appointments are to be virtual this semester. With the virus, we're trying to be mindful, and we still do everything we've always done for students. It's just the format for meetings will look a little bit different this semester. All righty. So do we have any questions on communication skills?
Excellent. I thought that was an excellent job that you did, Mr. Denny. I absolutely adore how you talked about how to respond to certain people, because I still have my students who will talk to me an email like, hey, I'm like, oh, okay, no. So I thought you did an excellent job. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate your kind words on that. So, any other questions or anything like that? Alrighty, if there. Oh, sure, go ahead.
Sorry. Okay. Can you hear me still?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to quickly ask. So, I'm a marketing major, and I also am a musician, and I want to be able to market for either a music label or just something in the music industry. And I was just wondering, is there, you said that you can help people know what they can do with their degree and like all the capabilities. And so I was just wondering, is that the case with me too?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So if you want to, what I would recommend is I'll put in the chat right now, I will include my email. So what I would recommend is to send me an email, and we can arrange a time to talk in a little bit more detail about that and kind of get an idea of what it is that you want to do and what you're looking for. Or if you're open to opportunities, sometimes a student might want to have a couple different resumes. They might want to know how to work in a couple different fields, because I know you mentioned music, but you also mentioned marketing. And when we think about something like the entertainment industry and music versus the business industry, I mean, there are a lot of differences in that. They are almost a 180-degree difference. Now, like you got things like music business. I mean, sometimes there's a way to marry the two, but there are a lot of differences in that. So we could talk sometime soon and help you devise some strategies if that's something you'd be interested in. We could also look at your documents and things like that as well.
Yeah, because I found that I have a hard time deciding what goes on a resume, because I've done a lot as a musician and I want to enter music business and do something like that. But then if I'm applying for a marketing position within that music label, it's yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where, and there's several pieces of advice I would say I have for you on that. You may want to think about having a couple different resumes that you use, and it's okay to do that, because honestly, if I were to think of everything I've ever done that might be resume worthy, I might be coming in at close to 10 pages, but employers don't want to see that. So I do maintain a resume. I keep mine 3 pages or less. So you can take if you look at the sum of everything you've done previously, you might be able to pick and choose and have a few different versions of a resume that you use. But a cover letter is also very important as well, because the cover letter, again, written communication, it's a business document, it's a persuasive letter that will allow you to communicate with an employer and really make a sales pitch for why you are going to be a good fit for the position. I'm looking around here, seeing what I can use. An example I tend to give students a lot is I try to tell them if I'm going to sell something, like if I were going to sell this wireless mouse, I wouldn't say, hey, buy my wireless mouse. I'd want to tell you all the great things about this wireless mouse and just have you thinking at the end of it, hopefully, that my life as I know it will not go on without this wireless mouse. So maybe that's a little bit extreme of an example, but I'd want to do more than, or you buy it. Are you interested? I'd want to say it's smooth, it rolls smoothly, it can scroll as well, it clicks very smoothly, the batteries last a long time. I'm going to want to tell people all kinds of great stuff about that wireless mouse. And we want to get in that same mode of thinking when it comes time to market ourselves on paper for a job, because I don't know about you, but I very much grew up hearing don't brag about yourself, don't, and things like that. And I think we have to differentiate what is bragging from what is marketing ourselves in an effective way in a job market.
Yeah, that's definitely a struggle that I've, kind of had. Yeah.
And I've heard that from a number of students, and even me as a professional. Sometimes I run into that a little bit. I have to think about that myself. It is okay to talk about yourself, to market yourself, to build you up as a professional. It's not being a braggart. And sometimes I think there could be a little bit of confusion on that with students. But that being said, too, sometimes if you just to sit down and to write a cover letter and talk about all the things you've done, it can feel kind of weird. So yeah, that'd be my recommendation. Is I went ahead, I posted my email. So if you want to email me and contact me for a time, I'd be happy to do that.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. Any other questions? All righty. If there are no other questions, I just want to thank everyone for joining us for Career Ed Live today. Again, this concludes our series on the NACE 8 competencies. We'll have, I believe it's, I'm going off memory here, which is dangerous. I believe it's February the 10th is when we have our next Career Ed Live session. But I hope everyone will join us back here next time for that session. And I just want to say thank you again.